Hey there, I'm Frank Mitchell. On this channel, it's all about helping you understand your car and keeping it running the way it should. Whether it's routine maintenance or solving those tricky problems, I've got you covered. If you find this useful, give the video a like, hit that subscribe button, and be sure to watch till the end. You might learn something that saves you time and money. All right, let's get started.
Parking maneuvers continue to be the nightmare of many drivers, both experienced and those who are taking their driving license exams. So much so that many manufacturers have developed automated parking assistance systems to facilitate these maneuvers, as well as audible alerts and reversing cameras that can guide us. Thanks to these systems, there are cars that are very easy to park nowadays. All you have to do is press a button and the assistant will track down a space, alert us as soon as it finds one in which the car fits perfectly, and it performs the maneuver on its own, leaving the driver to shift from first gear to reverse and vice versa. With them, there is no excuse if we are fined for parking badly. Unfortunately, not all cars have these systems, so we are going to give you some tips to make battery parking as easy as possible. It is really a matter of geometry and spatial perception. It will be enough to have a series of reference points and what to do in each of them. As with other practical tips, such as how to hold the steering wheel correctly, it will probably take you some time to get used to these references the first time, but after a few maneuvers you'll have a piece of cake, you'll see. It is important to keep in mind that the references and the maneuver to park in battery are different if we park facing towards the curb than if we park backwards, and here is our first tip: whenever you can, park in battery backwards. Why it is better to reverse into a battery parking space. When parking in a battery, it is more advisable to park in reverse for several reasons, either to avoid damaging the side of the car, or for safety reasons. As you will see below, the rear apron of the car is higher. When parking in reverse gear, it is much less likely to rub the rear apron against the curb, so you save yourself the risk of breaking the apron or even a fog lamp, which are very exposed when parking face first. We have the trunk facing the curb for unloading instead of having to raise and lower the luggage, exposing us to traffic. Easier to get out. We never know if we will have to get out in a hurry. When we park in reverse gear, the car is prepared to get out more easily and, above all, we get out with much more visibility forward than when we have to get out in reverse gear. We invade less space. When we start the maneuver in reverse, we already have the rear of the car well oriented. To park straight ahead, we first have to open up and separate the nose of the car to be able to pull in correctly, so that we move into the left lane if we park on the right side, or vice versa. Less maneuvering. In most cases, it requires less maneuvering when reversing than when driving forward. There are basically three ways to park in a battery: places perpendicular to the road. These are the majority. In these spaces, it is clearly advisable to park in reverse and leave the car ready to move forward. Oblique parking spaces for reverse parking. These spaces form a V-shaped herringbone in the direction of travel. They are clearly designed to force us to park in reverse. Oblique parking spaces to park facing the curb. These parking spaces form an inverted A-shaped herringbone in the direction of travel. They are designed so that we park facing the curb and exit in reverse. Let's see now the references and how to make the maneuver easily. Tips and references for battery parking. As is logical, the references and maneuvers are different depending on the type of battery parking we have to do, so let's see them in each case. References and maneuver to park in a battery at 90°. In parking spaces oriented at 90° to the road, it is always best to park in reverse. Let's see the maneuver step by step. We drive close to the parked cars and stop just beyond the space where we want to park. Corner with corner. If, for example, we are going to park on the right side, we must stop our car so that we see the right rear corner of our car aligned with the headlight of the car that is parked right next to the hole. If it were on the left side, the opposite would be true. We turn the steering fully. In the previous example, parking on the right side, we turn the steering fully to the right side and reverse, checking in the left rearview mirror the distance to the car in front of the gap. When we are close to it, we stop. Move forward. If the car is not yet perpendicular to the track, turn the steering wheel in the opposite direction and move forward until it is well oriented. It is possible, if the gap is wide enough, that this step is not necessary, but most of the time we will have to do it. Back in a straight line. Now that we have the car parallel to those on the sides, we back up and reverse until the wheels hit the curb, or the nose of our car does not protrude from the rest of the parked vehicles. Obviously, always with caution and making sure that there is no one behind the vehicle during the maneuver. End of the maneuver, apply the parking brake, shift into gear or place the automatic gear selector in P. References and maneuver for oblique parking in reverse gear in the V-shaped parking lots designed for reverse parking. The maneuver is the same as before, but easier because, as the cars are somewhat oblique, we do not need to put the car so perpendicular to the road, so that in a single maneuver we can park it. The most important thing is to stop the vehicle with the rear corner of our car in the corner of the other vehicle. References and maneuvering for oblique forward parking in battery parking spaces oriented in a kind of A shape in the direction of travel. We must park facing the curb. To do this we must do the following. We circulate to a meter of the parked cars until we see the hole in which we can park. We separate the nose, one car before the hole in which we want to park. We must turn to the side that moves away the front of our car from those who are parked. We start to get in. As soon as our front bumper has passed the car before the gap, we turn the steering towards the gap to start putting the nose into it. We must always check that the left front corner, if parked to the right, does not rub against the car next to the gap and that our right side does not rub against the car parked before the gap. We line up with the cars and move forward smoothly, taking care not to break the front apron against the curb. End of the maneuver, parking brake and go or P. How to get out of a battery parking space. When leaving a parking space is when we will be most grateful for having parked in reverse, since we will have visibility to control the rest of the traffic circulating, the opposite of what happens when leading in reverse. To move forward in a parking lot at 90°, we must keep in mind that we cannot start turning the steering wheel until we have taken 3/4 of the car out, otherwise we will rub the sides against the corners of the cars parked on the sides. We go forward in a straight line and check in the rearview mirrors that when we turn to the side we have to drive, our side does not hit the side of the vehicle next to us. As soon as the rear wheel of our car is at the height of the end of the car next to us, we can turn almost at full speed and get out with caution. In the case of having parked backwards in an oblique parking space, we do not need to be so careful with the turn to exit already oriented in the direction of the traffic. If we have to back out of a battery parking space oriented obliquely, we must back out in a straight line with great caution with respect to other traffic and paying attention to the front left corner. If we have parked to the right, that does not rub against the car on our left as we begin to turn to orient ourselves with the traffic. Often the most difficult thing about parking is not knowing how to do the maneuver, but finding where to park the car. To make it more useful, do not miss these links where you will find free parking in Madrid and free parking in Barcelona, which are two of the cities where it is more difficult to find a parking space. In conclusion, parking in battery for the first time may seem daunting, but with practice and the right techniques, you can master it. Remember to stay calm, use your mirrors effectively, and take your time to ensure you position your vehicle correctly. Don't hesitate to ask for help if you need it, and always be mindful of your surroundings. With these tips in mind, you'll gain confidence and become proficient in no time. Thank you for watching, and happy parking!